1 second?
I have a second. All right.
It's really only going to take 1 second. I can even do you right here. You don't even have to move.
All right, just give me 1 second.
Hi everyone, we are at President-elect Donald Trump's, where President-elect Donald Trump's name is being removed from 3 apartment buildings in Manhattan's West Side today. This comes after complaints from residents. Over 500 residents signed a petition demanding the sign get taken down. As you can see, Trump Place was the sign on this building. Now it's just going to be 180 Riverside Drive. So please comment with questions and I will do my best to answer them. But as you can see, they're taking down the letters one by one here. These guys are going pretty fast. I got here when all the letters were still up about 15 minutes ago, and they're already almost done. So making quick moves here. Again, the buildings will be renamed with the street address. So the one I'm at right now is going to be named 180 Riverside Drive. Also, it's not just the sign that's going to get taken down. The doormen and concierges are also being measured for new uniforms, which will no longer carry the Trump name. I'm going to turn my audio down a bit for you guys. Again, please comment with any questions. Naz Ahmed says, why do the letters have to be removed? Over 500 residents signed a petition saying they wanted the letters to get removed. But in addition, Mary Paulisa, a senior regional manager for Equity, said this week the Trump Place building names will change to the street addresses. The purpose of this change is to assume a neutral building identity that appeals to all current and future residents. So Martin Espinoza, I see you asking what's the reason. Let me try to explain that a little bit more for you guys. So again, over 500 residents signed a petition asking for the Trump Place sign to get taken down, and also all Trump Place branding in the building in terms of uniforms on concierges and doormen are getting changed as well. On Tuesday, residents received an email from Mary Paulisa. She's a senior regional manager for Equity Residential, a publicly traded company in Chicago that bought these buildings in 2005 for $809 million. She sent out an email to all of the residents on Tuesday, yesterday, saying this week the Trump Place building names will change to the street addresses. The purpose of this change is to assume a neutral building identity that appeals to all current and future residents. Amanda Miller, who is the vice president of marketing for the Trump Organization, issued a statement saying the change was mutually agreed upon. Martin Espinoza is saying, wow. Tom Hopple is saying, I don't blame them. Thank you all for commenting, and again, feel free to put your thoughts and questions in the comments here. Lots of other media here today. I'm not the only one. Everyone getting some shots of the Trump Place sign, which is being removed from this building I'm at 180 Riverside Drive in the Upper West Side in Manhattan. So again, these 3 buildings, which will no longer carry the Trump name, are between 66th and 69th Street along Riverside Boulevard. They are not owned by President-elect Donald Trump, but they are owned by Equity Residential, a publicly traded company out of Chicago, and Equity Residential bought the buildings from Mr. Trump in 2005 for $809 million. That is correct, David Sherman. He no longer owns the buildings. Equity Residential bought the buildings in 2005. Mr. Trump was involved in the development of these buildings at various times. They've been known as Trump Place, but again, today they're no longer going to be known as Trump Place. As of today, they will be known by their street addresses, 180, 160, and 140 Riverside Drive. And again, for those of you just joining, Mr. Trump was involved in the development of these buildings. He does not own them. They were bought out by Equity Residential, a publicly traded company based in Chicago, in 2005 for $809 million. And over 500 residents in these buildings signed a petition demanding that the signs and branding for President-elect Donald Trump get taken out of the buildings. This includes concierges and doormen inside the buildings who are getting measured for new uniforms which will no longer hold the Donald Trump name.
You did so quickly.
Nothing gets done this quickly.
Again, thank you all for joining, and please feel free to comment with any questions you have, and I will do my best to answer them. Again, this is a pretty quick change. This week, all 3 buildings on the Upper West Side that were previously known as Trump Place will be changed to the building address name. So this one right in front of me will now be known as 180 Riverside Drive instead of Trump Place. You can kind of see, just after this truck passes, you can kind of see in the lining up there where the workers are, where it used to say Trump Place. Now all of those letters have been taken down. The buildings were bought out by Equity Residential in 2005, and Mary Paulisa, a senior regional manager for that company, sent out a statement to all residents saying, "This week, the Trump Place building names will change to the street addresses. The purpose of this change is to assume a neutral building identity that appeals to all current and future residents." And then after that statement was put out, Amanda Miller, the vice president of marketing for the Trump organization, issued a statement saying the change was mutually agreed upon. Dominic is asking why they didn't change the name in 2005. I don't know exactly why, but I do know that the residents who started signing a petition did so after the Access Hollywood tapes, colloquially known as the Trump tapes, were released in October, and residents told news outlets that because of Trump's statements about women and immigrants, they did not feel they wanted his name on their building anymore.
You seem to be enjoying yourself like that. You want to be the outcast. I got you. We feel the same way. I mean, this is the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Yeah, but I have to say, honestly,
Oh, really?
they hired all the most people.
So equity is not as good as
So again, to remind those of you who are just joining us, it is a little bit harder to see now, but I am standing outside of one of 3 apartment buildings in Manhattan's Upper West Side, which, after receiving complaints from residents, will remove Trump Place as the title of these buildings. Now they will be known as the building addresses. So this one in front of me, as you can see, these guys are just finishing up, taking off the final touches of where Trump Place used to be on top of the building, and now this building will be known just as 180 Riverside Drive. And also, just to remind those of you who just joined, it's not just the sign getting taken down. The doormen and concierges inside have also been measured for new uniforms, which will also no longer carry the Trump name. And these buildings are between 66th and 69th Street in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, just along Riverside Drive here. These buildings are owned not by Mr. Trump, but by Equity Residential, which is a publicly traded company in Chicago. They bought these buildings in 2005 for $809 million. Mr. Trump was involved in the development of these buildings, which were known previously as Trump Place. Now they are known as the street addresses of these buildings. Again, for those of you just joining, I am standing outside of 180 Riverside Drive, previously known as Trump Place, where I'm watching the Trump Place sign getting taken down here after residents signed a petition asking for the sign to get taken down. And please feel free to comment with any questions you might have, and I'll do my best to answer. The buildings are all not owned by Mr. Trump. There are 3 of these buildings getting their signs taken down today and renamed as the street addresses. A publicly traded company known as Equity Residential bought these buildings for $809 million in 2005. Mr. Trump was involved in the development of these buildings but does not own them. Equity Residential kept the name Trump Place on the exterior of the buildings, on their letterhead, on signage, and on uniforms. But on Tuesday, residents received an email from Mary Paulisa. She's a senior regional manager for Equity Residential, and in the email she said this week the Trump Place building names will change to the street addresses 140, 160, and 180 Riverside Boulevard. The purpose of this change is to assume a neutral building identity that appeals to all current and future residents. Amanda Miller, who is the vice president of marketing for the Trump Organization, then issued a statement saying the change was mutually agreed upon. And again, over 500 residents of these buildings signed a petition asking for the Trump Place name to be removed from these buildings. And it looks like they're just about finished up with this one. Let's see. I'm going to try and bring you a little bit closer to the letters here without getting run over as I walk. Here we go. All right. So these are the letters right in here. I apologize, it's hard to see, but these are the gold letters that read out Trump Place that used to be on top of this building in front of me at 180 Riverside Drive. All right, and I'm gonna actually walk back over here, show you the building again. Here's a little bit of a closer look. As you can see, the sign used to say Trump Place up here. Now the building will go by 180 Riverside Drive. Lisa Underwood says, just in time to place those letters at the White House. Again, feel free to comment with your questions. Ken Fresta says, I run by these buildings 3 times a week. That's interesting, Ken. Tell us in the comments what you think about this name change. I am going to walk you guys across again just because it's a little bit easier to see. I'm walking through 66th through 69th Street, where 3 of these buildings will be renamed today. The Trump Place title is getting taken down from 3 of these buildings in the Upper West Side and being replaced with the address of these buildings. Jennifer McGee asks why it's changing. So over 500 residents from these buildings signed a petition asking for the name to get changed. In addition, Equity Residential, the owner of these buildings, issued a statement essentially saying that they would change the name to the street address just to make it accessible for all current and future residents. All right, so lots of people asking why. Again, residents of these buildings signed a petition asking for the name to get changed, and also a regional manager for the company that owns the buildings issued a statement to residents saying the Trump Place building names will change. The purpose of this change is to assume a neutral building identity that appeals to all current and future residents. So again, I guess the reasoning that the owner of these buildings is putting forth is just to maintain a more neutral setting. And again, the name outside the building is not the only thing changing. It's also the uniforms for concierges and doormen inside as well that will be changed. Thank you for your question, Jennifer. All right, guys, well, I'm going to wrap this up since it seems to be pretty much done here, but thank you so much for watching.